back to our channel. And Nixon. Sorry I look so disheveled. We just got off of a boat. We've been on, it's like 10 p.m. right now, and we were on our boat since probably earlier than 10 a.m. this morning, out in the hot 90 some odd degree weather. You can't really tell on camera, but this is extremely red. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. I am so burnt. So this happened in 2001 in Tallahassee, Florida, in Lake Seminole. Mike Willliams was a strong family man. He had a successful real estate job. He loved and doted on his wife and daughter. He loved to hunt and fish, and he was an avid duck hunter. One early December morning, Mike leaves. Even though there was a storm coming, he decided to go out for some reason and go duck hunting. Apparently that's like the best time to go. I think my fiance goes like during rain or before, or I don't know. Anyways, it just so happened to be on him and his wife's 6th wedding anniversary. His wife Denise was a stay-at-home mom. At noon that day, so after he went on his trip, Mike still wasn't home. So as night began to come, Denise becomes frantic. She's, this is her husband. She's there with her daughter, like freaking out. Mike isn't answering his cell phone. So she calls her dad and Mike's best friend, Brian Winchester, who meet her at the lake, and they start looking for Mike. Finally, officials were called after, got pretty late in the night and still no word from Mike. Officials were called and came to investigate a missing boater on Lake Seminole. The temperature was only 19 degrees that night, making the search extremely difficult and had them all worrying that Mike would get hypothermia. The search was eventually called off for the night, but when they returned the next day to search, they find Mike's boat. Inside the boat was Mike's shotgun, and inside its case, some duck decoys, and other hunting equipment. The search and rescue divers began to join the search, as well as choppers, multiple law enforcement agencies, and they searched for weeks and then for months. His wife continued to aid every single day in the search and was just completely devastated. Then eventually they started treating this as an accident and began, instead of searching for Mike, they started searching for a body. Investigators believe Mike had somehow fell out of the boat and was pulled under by the weight of his waders filling with water, and then he drowned. So waders are like these overall things with these really heavy boots you wear when you're hunting, and they could easily fill up with water and drown someone. They began to think no body was ever going to be found because this lake was known for having alligators in it. So they believed, maybe the most plausible answer was that he got eaten by alligators. This was the so-called conclusion that authorities and investigators finally came to, but some people started seeing some holes in this. First, it was Mike's mom. She pointed out this really important detail. It was freezing that night, only 19 degrees, which means the water was freezing. Alligators don't eat in frigid cold water. When it's that cold, they don't eat. Then later, an investigator pointed out something else. Alligators don't eat people whole. They shred and tear their prey apart. There's always some kind of body part found after an alligator attack. So they wouldn't have just ate his, him entire whole. There would have been something, somewhere, pieces of his waders or something. No bones or flesh were ever found in the lake. Then some people who lived nearby and were also at the lake said they never even saw Mike that morning at the lake. 10 days after Mike went missing, magically a hat was found. But it made people question why hadn't it been found before in that whole 10 days of searching, because they found it floating on the surface where the boat was found. So they would have seen it. It's kind of weird. Mike's best friend Brian happened to identify the hat, saying that it was Mike's. But they did a DNA test on this hat, and the results came back inconclusive. So again, a little fishy. No pun intended. 6 months after he went missing, a fisherman came across a pair of waders. Yet, there was no kind of bone or body or anything inside of them. Also, they were absolutely in perfect condition. totally intact. No scrapes, bite marks, tears, nothing. Just perfect. And they just so happened to show up 6 months later. A bit later after that, divers ended up finding Mike's hunting jacket, his hunting license, and a flashlight. But here's what's crazy. The license was still legible. This is 6 months later. It's been sitting in this lake. The license was still legible, and the flashlight still worked. How is that possible? And there was absolutely no algae growth on either of them. And like I said, it'd been 6 months, so it was pretty much impossible. And, this kind of proved to people that they think that stuff was planted there. Jennifer Portman, the news director of the Tallahassee Democrat, learned of Mike's bizarre disappearance 6 years later. So this went on for 6 years of them just being like, oh, well, it was just an alligator attack. Not questioning nothing. She heard about his disappearance 6 years later. In her newspaper, she saw an ad from Mike's mother, because Mike's mother never gave up. She knew that this whole alligator thing was not the case. She constantly marched, protested, put in ads like this in the paper. She put an ad saying, "Have you seen my son?" with a picture of Mike. So Jennifer researched the case and started questioning the official narrative.
I started going through the reporting of it, and the record was so thin, but there were these clues. Because, of course, he died without a will, so the wife declaring him dead after 6 months, never finding the body, it just all seemed very strange.
Like I said, the case had actually, she found out the case had been closed only 6 months after Mike went missing. Missing people cases in Florida have to usually wait 5 years until they're declared dead. After 6 months, they claimed he was dead, and his wife used the finding Mike's things as evidence to convince the judge that it was an accident. That way they could actually claim it was, claim him dead, because otherwise he'd still be like a missing person.
And what was the evidence Denise used to convince a judge her husband met his demise at the bottom of the lake? His hunting jacket, hunting license, a working flashlight, and the pristine pair of waders with no alligator holes.
You think this evidence was planted?
We're convinced the evidence was planted.
So the judge did end up declaring him dead and gave his wife a death certificate. The case lost all publicity after that. Excuse me, I need a drink. His wife, who was only 31, had been with Mike since 9th grade. She was devastated, and she just wanted it all to be over. That was, when people asked her, why would you want to just declare him dead that fast? She just wanted it to be done. She was a new single mom. She just wanted it to be over. Mike's mother and brother believed that evidence that they found in Mike's was planted, and that it possibly went, and they went all the way to the governor to try and open a criminal investigation. Mike's mom said that Mike's wife, so this is where things start getting a little weird. Mike's mom said that Mike's wife, Denise, threatened her to not push for a criminal investigation. That if she did, she would no longer get to see her granddaughter. That, again, she just wanted it all to be over and move on. So she told Mike's mom, no, if you push this, I'm not going to let you see your granddaughter. So she's starting to act a little strange. So a former county sheriff named Weston, I think his last name is Weston, also started kind of working on the case when it was closed. He found that 6 months before Mike went missing, a life insurance policy for $1.2 million had been set up for Mike. His wife, Denise, was the beneficiary of it, or would be the beneficiary of it. It also just so happens that Brian, Mike's best friend, was an insurance agent and sold that health insurance or life insurance to them. Do you see where this is going? Denise went to court to get Mike declared dead and get a death certificate because she needed one in order to claim the life insurance. Sheriff Weston also noticed later that the shotgun found in Mike's boat was not for duck hunting. He was an avid hunter. Mike would have known to take the right gun. Sheriff Weston ended up speaking to Mike's boss, which the original investigators never did, His boss said Mike had actually confided in him the month prior to his disappearance that he and his wife were having marital and financial issues. So, turn that down. That they had crazy credit card debt, but Denise kept on and on spending until they were completely maxed out and then would just keep getting new cards. Right after Denise claimed the life insurance money, it also came to the surface that she was having an affair and been having it before Mike died with his best friend Brian. Soon after this, Brian actually ended up divorcing his then wife and marrying Denise. They got married. It's crazy. They were married and living in Mike's house, sitting pretty on the $1.5 million that they got in death benefits from his life insurance. Does this not look fishy to people? Like, hello. Brian had been the one to set up and help Denise claim this life insurance, and they're pretty sure even file the life insurance. Like the first one, they think they did it behind Mike's back, and he didn't know about it. Once Denise and Brian got married, she cut all contact with Mike's family completely. So, of course, all this led investigators to believe that most likely it was Denise and Brian who killed Mike for the insurance money and to be able to be together. But neither became suspects, and no further action was taken by authorities at the time. Although homicide detectives did begin working on the case, slowly but surely. A while later, Brian was actually arrested for kidnapping Denise at gunpoint after she told him that she wanted a divorce. So, is that karma, you think? So they got in a huge fight, and he ended up, like, kidnapping her with a gun, and anyways, he got arrested. So, like I said, when I first heard this story, that's kind of where it ended, and it was just, you know, it was still unsolved. But then when I was researching this, again, to make a video on it, I found this all out. So in 2017, Mike's body was actually found buried in the muck of a different lake. Authorities said they had proof that he was actually murdered, and instantly Denise was arrested and is now charged with first-degree murder, although she and her lawyers still claim it was all Brian's idea and his doing. Brian was tried in court and ended up so Brian was already in jail for the kidnapping. He was tried in court and ended up confessing to the murder, but said it was just an altercation that went bad. So now Denise is facing life in prison. Brian, however, is serving a 20-year sentence just for the kidnapping. That's it. He received immunity for the murder charges because he confessed to shooting Mike and revealing Denise's involvement in the plot, and because he is who led detectives to Mike's body. So he got immunity and is not being charged for murder. So he roams free as we speak. I'm glad Mike's family got some kind of justice a little bit, but I still feel like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Should someone really not have to go to jail for killing someone just because they confessed to doing it? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it does not sit well with me. But like I said, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think someone should get immunity just for, like, yeah, say you kill someone, and then you finally are like, okay, I did it, and then you get immunity for it? Like, that's nuts. So this guy, in however many years, I don't know how long he's been in there, is going to be roaming free soon. And it's just, it's nuts. But yeah, like I said, this case is crazy. I've always wanted to do a video on it. I hope you guys liked it. Sorry I'm stumbling everywhere. It's been a long day. My next one I won't film right after I've been in the sun all day. So let me know what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up if you want more true crime videos. And until then, stay creative, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah.